Welcome to a very special episode of Pineapples and Thorns. This is part one of a two-part special focusing on the major update to Clash of Clans that's expected to drop any day. Notice I didn't say massive, Tarlis. Today we are joined not only by our regular crew, but also by our good friends from the Crystal2Join podcast, Carl and Zeno. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting us on. I'm still yet determining whether or not that was a good life decision on your guys' part, but I guess we'll see.
We'll find out. And just a note for our listeners, you'll need to tune into the C2J podcast in order to hear part two of this special. So looking forward to doing that today as well. So in this episode, we're going to do somewhat broad overview of the coming update. Look from 10,000 feet up, so to speak. And part two of the special will be diving a little bit deeper and focusing on some other things. So let's get into it. It looks like the very long-awaited update is about to drop, and we've seen the developer video from Darian and Seth, and a bunch of sneak peeks. Did everybody watch the dev video?
Sure did. It was corny as heck, but a very, very light overview. I think it upset many people because we didn't really see what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, C-Note? Did you get to watch that?
Yeah, it was definitely a tease, the very first developer episode. But as we all know, it led to further and further into the update.
To the abyss, so to speak.
Correct. Into the clouds.
Carl, what about you?
I think that they took the wrong tact for it all because the fan base was already upset for the most part, and then they chose to basically unveil the curtain with some humor and not a lot of context. And so I think it put a lot of bad taste in people's mouths that after all the waiting, you throw something out there and it just felt like they got the ball rolling, in the wrong direction to start with, and then they just had to backpedal ever since. That was kind of my take on it as we go through the sneak peeks, because, obviously Clash of Clans likes humor, likes being goofy. Darian dressed up in some kind of steampunk cosplay. Great. If they would have given us more up to this point, like you basically just been doing mediocre updates, teases, and then you kind of like tease us again. I think that was like the wrong tack to take, rolling it out.
Yeah. Well, and, to be clear, it's like there's really nothing for the main base. It's a new farming / gameplay builder base 2.0, as people have been calling it, that you have to unlock different levels and build up your defenses and troops and what have you. So there's a lot to that whole thing, and I think people are somewhat disappointed that there's nothing in this, it appears, for the main village.
Except for a nerf to Serpent Dragons.
And a buff to the AD.
And a buff to the AD. I hear what you're saying, Carl. It was more hype on top of the hype that we'd already kind of received at Christmas, right? It was a big hurry up and wait still. And this was some of my fear, that people would just be turned off by it just being too overhyped, right? It can never, we're all guessing what it could be. One of you guys talked about, I forget who, but something about the watches. Maybe they are going to allow us to turn back time on the villages. And, that kind of got me excited again that, that could be part of that update. So, we're already on, what was it, day
4?
Today's day 4 of sneak peeks. Yeah. So I think nobody mentioned anything new. So I think we really are done. Update is imminent now. And no talk, like you said, about anything for the main village.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this new clan capital thing. It's got tiers, right? So you have to defeat each tier to move on to the next one. And you have to work together as a clan to progress. So it's a teamwork kind of a thing, right? But it would have been nice if they could have integrated that into the main village. But I'm not sure how clans are going to manage this. It seems like it's going to be a lot of work to coordinate, because each attack depends on the previous person's attack. So like you build on it in order to triple the tier, right?
Yeah, I'm already seeing in different Discord servers, there's talk of creating a whole channel for, just to discuss strategy. And, I haven't really given it a lot of attention,
Hmm.
but it appears to me that people are kind of preparing for the strategy that's going to be needed to take down the district and the clan peaks or capital peaks or whatever they're called, going forward. So it's kind of like the old days with Clash on, the leaders discussing how they want to approach a war. This is going to be very similar to that, only you're going to need the cooperation of, like you said, everybody in the clan.
Yeah. Well, and each person for the entire weekend, you get 5 attacks to use. So if you use up all 5 of your attacks in one raid, then you don't get to attack again during the rest of the weekend.
Unless you take a district down. If you take a district
Right.
down, you get an extra attack, but you are
That's
only
correct.
allowed one. Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised they spread it out over so much time.
Yeah.
They're talking about now Friday to Monday as the,
Hmm.
the time period, but I don't know. We do wars in 24 hours. Everybody seems to manage to get their attacks in, 2 at a. So I don't know. Maybe they just think we can only attack once every 12 hours.
But if you clear, like, you attack each of these tiers, right? And once all of those tiers are tripled, then you get the top level, whatever it's called, the
The
capital
peak.
peak.
Yeah.
And if you take that down, then you get matched with another clan or set of clans or whatever it is. But you still only have that 5 attacks total. So if you've used 2 of your attacks in the first set of raid, you only have 3, potentially 4 attacks left for the next one. That's my understanding.
I agree. I think that's how it's going to run.
To Peter's point, saying that the clan or the clan capital is running, the raids are running from Friday to Monday. What are your thoughts on how this will affect CWL going forward?
Well, Kat right away gave me the old, if the update drops on Monday, that is day blah, blah, blah of SCWL. Do you think they might only run a 5-day SCWL again? That first one was a test to make sure we could all handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it's going to do. Because, of course, we're divided. Right now, we have Redthorn people in 3 different clans, so that's not going to help us at all for the first round. Seth, or maybe it was Darian, I don't remember, said we're going to have a practice one first. So a I don't know what that means really, a non-important one, or maybe you just get to attack one base. Who knows?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, it will definitely impact clan function, I think. What about like your regular wars? If people are doing wars, will that mean that they don't really want to do the weekend raids? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just kind of hearing you guys talk is tying that into how you guys have previously talked about stuff, because like there's been a lot of chatter about all these dead clans and kind of like spread out, and it feels like their general what they're trying to get at, because Clash has always said, hey, social game, clan is in the name, they want you to be together. I feel like because this is one of the few times that they're incentivizing quantity over quality in the game, because the more people have in your clan, the more people that have their 5 attacks plus a bonus one if you clear a district, yada yada yada. So I feel like this is almost a push to kind of consolidating clans together and getting larger, more active clans and keeping those people in the game, vice having everyone kind of spread out. Because you know how you get those few that are like, hey, my clan, it's not super active, but I've been with them forever, so I don't want to leave. Well, now there's more incentivizing to maybe merge together. And so I feel like that jives with a shorter CWL, because you can keep everyone together for your 5 days, hit this mode on the weekend, and then that way you kind of, obviously if you're in the higher leagues, it, matters a little bit, but because you can only do 15 people, but it just feels like it's more of a move that Supercell sees how the game dynamics is going, and so they're kind of building to the players that they have for sure, certain that aren't going to leave, and then getting them all together so that they stay there and they keep the whales where they're going to be. So to me, I feel like it does have kind of like a master overarching plan that jives into the 5-day CWL. and then still catering to, because the game mode is not going to, you're not going to spend a lot of money as Town Hall 15 was. I think we all can say that. However, if you lose a couple of whales, that's going to be a huge deal to them, like percentage wise, like if you lose 10% of your whales. So if you keep the clans that may have those people to play, keep them together and keep them more active because of how they're kind of structuring it, then they'll keep the money flowing. And, maybe that's a little bit of conspiracy theory, bigger picture for how they kind of want the game to be organized, but I can kind of see that coming together. What do you think?
That's interesting. I think you could be very right on that. But I think in order for them to make this work, they're going to have to do something about the way clans communicate, because
Yes.
you obviously have to plan some strategy. I mean, trying to plan something in the existing in-game chat is so tedious. And there's a lot of clans that don't use Discord or other chat type apps in order to communicate with each other. They just use the in-game stuff. So do you think Supercell will get their act together and fix in-game chat to help people out with this?
Do you know? What do you think?
I'm crossing my fingers. I mean, I wanted it now. Like, I wanted it regardless of the new update. I wanted that kind of communication, or bringing clans together. So I'm a little disappointed, to say the least, that they spent more time on creating like a different aspect of the game rather than just improve what they have. So yeah, I'm on board with you guys. I agree with Kat, and I know we've talked about it before. I'm 100% on board with them working on a better communication system within the games. Since they took away global, and we're very limited to how we can reach people. And you're right, if you don't have Discord, you're kind of screwed. Would you agree, Carl?
Yeah, I feel like they like the fact that they're having other people do their work for them, honestly. So I don't think that they're really going to care about that for quite a while, because everyone's already kind of built their community that's on a third party app. So if they spend all the time and resources, which clearly they don't have a lot of, if this is what they're going to come up with an update, spoiler alert, C Note and I don't like it. That that they're definitely not going to put all their efforts into that when everyone already has their community. And so Supercell, let's say Supercell does do what CNOT wants, and they have voice and all these like communication tools, yada yada yada. Are people going to leave the Discord? Like, I don't think that people are going to transfer over, because the people that want to do it have already done it. So I feel like that they're hedging their bets, thinking that that's already, the foundation is set. So why would I do that when nobody's going to move over? It's going to be a very mild gain for it. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm not saying that they shouldn't consider it. I'm just saying that I think that it's not worth the bang for buck, considering how they like to devote their resources for development.
That's an excellent point. I was kind of disappointed they hadn't included something for more communication, but I could see your point. They're not going to spend the time or effort on it when Discord is here and they know people are on it.
Yeah, very true. Another thing that I noticed about this is it seems like the new mode is extremely dependent on people in leadership to manage. I mean, yes, we already manage wars and what have you, but you have to, only co-leaders and leaders can move defenses and buildings around these tiers, village tiers or whatever they're called. And only leadership can post friendly challenges for people to practice on during the week. So is that going to impact leadership in terms of, like, you're going to have to assign somebody to do these tasks, right?
I'm going to ask you guys, how much oversight do you need in your wars in C2J? And I'm just going to lead with RT's example. I think the biggest thing is Cat spins this on time. But other than that, there's no real, there's no battle plan, right? 14s hit 14s for whatever we can get, 2 or 3 stars. And then we clean the bottom after so many, 12s have made their attacks. A couple hours left. There's very little interaction now. How do you guys handle your wars?
I think Carl would agree with me. We don't do a lot of policing, unless it, like you said, it comes down to the last couple hours, and then we kind of chase people down, like clear the bottom, or we need a star here or whatever. But I mean, you're with a lot of people that know the game and don't really need to be told what to do. So I agree, there's not a lot of communication. Like I said, Carl probably agrees, and he could probably add on to that.
Yeah, I think we're a bad clan to ask, because short of some last minute, yelling at people to get their stuff together. Like, not only do we not really police, because more or less people know what they're doing, but we like kind of encourage, we if you're not doing safe strategies in war, like, hey, we really need a 2-star here, we like totally encourage you to do like a Blizz Wallow or whatever. Like,
swing for the fence.
yeah, we are always a swing for the fences, have fun first, win the war later. CWL is a little bit different. Like, we're getting a little bit more try hard in CWL, but we're definitely like, have fun and do that attack strategy you saw on YouTube. And you're like, oh, it's kind of like Fado says, like, he's like watching Stars Legend Leagues. He's like, oh, that's so easy. I got this. We're always like, yeah, man, you got this. Go for it. So it's kind of an interesting one for us, but yeah, we've kind of already talked about how we're gonna. Well, maybe internally, I talked about how we're gonna do it, and I'm putting it all on Green Arrow to manage the whole thing because he likes the update, so it's all him. So that's how. I don't know what Sino thinks of that, but that's how I liked. That's how I'm gonna roll.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Hey, Peter, maybe we should put it all on Fado to run.
Perfect. I'll let him know.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we saw both in the developer video and through the sneak peeks. There was like this one thing that I haven't seen anything on yet. Maybe I've just missed it, but there was like an old man kind of a character with a hammer. Did anybody see anything in the sneak peeks about him?
So he seems to be our guide, right, for the tutorial. He's
Okay.
kind of like that villager when we first showed up in
okay.
the game. So I'm not sure. I think it was Judo Slaw says, I don't even know this guy's name. So it's not like they've introduced him in anywhere.
I was kind of hoping he'd be like a super builder or something like that.
Maybe
We already
he's in
have
that.
a super builder.
You could like power him up and he'd build something fast or something.
I couldn't tell, Kat, if you were trying to low key throw shade at me and Sino for being old or not when you started that. So I'm glad that you were actually being serious.
I'm being totally serious. Did you guys look at any of the new offense or defense that they showed us? Some of the things looked pretty interesting, like the frost spell. I thought that was pretty cool.
No, some of it is really cool, and I feel like it's a great testing ground for new spells on main village. Because let's face it, I mean, that's what people care about is the main village, and always will be. Like, that's the sacred spot of Clash. But it just reaffirmed to me. So the two booming things to me, at least in the update, was the huge toys, the huge troop space toys. So you got the what do you got here? The flying fortress and the mountain golem, right? Like, those are the two splashy troops that are coming out, and people are definitely going to throw down a mountain golem and watch him wander around for like 90 seconds. Like, I feel like everyone wants to wants to try that. But I feel like Clash of Clans, like, I think the Clash of Clans and the dev team are like very sneaky about catering to actually what I would say the above average Clasher, like a slightly above casual. And the above average casual player loves super dragons. And to me, these two troops are like the super dragons of the new game mode because they're high troop space, kind of easy to figure out. Like, they have a low learning curve. And especially on this, I mean, they're over half your army. So you like drop one, and all you got to worry about is like, maybe a spell and a couple of the sneaky archer. You know what I mean? It's like very low stress, low energy investment to getting your raids in, which I think that they totally are doing on purpose. I don't think that they think these are amazing, designed troops, but I think that they want this style so that way people aren't burnt out having to cough, count tiles. So that's what I think.
What do you think about the hog trio? What do they call the hog raiders?
I thought that was a clever idea. I mean, it's a little bit of hog glider in with a couple of hogs. I know certainly has been one of my favorite troops all along. I used hog gliders in Builder Base. I guess we're going to call it 1.0. So that was a neat idea. They did that for several troops, right? Sneaky archers, they lumped together, and minions, I think. I think I saw a horde of minions.
I think Supercell's trying to bait Carl into using hog gliders in Builder Base.
Oh my! Wizard who's rolling around right now for his hog gliders and Wizard.
Well, it will be kind of interesting to see some of the strategies. I mean, I think we might even see some crossover as far as some of these troops and defenses into the main base eventually. I think the one thing that they have there, the guard post, is kind of neat. As a defense, you've got this little guard post, and instead of like a bunch of little archers and barbs running around like on Builder Base, you've got super giants or cannon carts and super drags, and they stay around the guard post until it's destroyed, and then they can go all over the map and attack your army that's attacking the base. So that's going to be fairly toxic.
Just to follow up on Carl's point, I read somewhere somebody's Discord talked about it. It's kind of like Town Hall 7 gameplay from the main base. It's just simple. Maybe not a lot of strategy. Hopefully, just to begin with.
Yeah, I feel like there will be the strategy part to get people's itch if they want to do that because of how the raid builds on itself. Like so far, all I've heard is, hey, if you drop a spell, it counts for your next attack or whatnot. But the fact that like the deployment zone is changing and maybe like the kind of thing, like it's kind of like the zap drag thing, right? Like it's like the larger scale version of that. Like you're very tactical in what your first phase is to clear so that the second phase is that much more effective. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of that, especially, hopefully as this game mode develops and they make it so that it's kind of like a larger scale version of that, where maybe instead of a handful of attacks, it takes you, maybe 10 to 15. That would be really interesting. And I feel like that would be the only way that they could tie that into more of an esport thing, because like, I feel like the teams right now, you're getting to know the players. Like the pro players have been around enough. You're getting your favorites. There's a little bit of rivalries. There's an off season where players go and switch teams. Like I feel like they're doing an okay job. I mean, Clash of Clans is always such like a tiny esports Twitch viewing company compared to every other game. Don't get me wrong, it's not huge, but for the little bunch of us that like to watch it, you're already getting that amount. So just imagine watching a 5v5 tournament where, Stars and Gaku would ever have to work off of each other against, Tryhard and Synthé. I feel like that you can really play up that team aspect, but you're going to need kind of that larger tactical, like, hey, player A comes in, takes out some key defenses. Player B then builds the deployment zone so you can tactically take advantage of that. So I feel like there's a lot to have there, but you just have to keep people interested enough, like you're saying, the tie-ins to the main village. So I feel like it's a little bit of both of what Peter's saying, as well as there is room to grow. It's just whether or not they're going to do it or not.
Very interesting. You went immediately to esports because I'm thinking this is for the farmers, or it's for us maxers. Kat and I were talking off air, and she thought it was for the lower town hall levels to be able to participate, like the town hall 9s, right, where you have all your builders kind of used. And I kind of saw it the other way, that we town hall 14s all have 6 builders free, and now we can convert to, help me out, capital gold. Is that the currency? Capital gold.
So.
And so this seems to be more of a farming thing for people that are waiting on Town Hall 15. Much to everyone's chagrin, but that's the way I see it. But I'm really delighted that you went immediately to esports kind of idea. I'm hopeful again.
And I think it's also a way, because there are a lot of clans out there still that have a very much a mixed breakdown. So you might have anywhere from Town Hall 7 up to 14, and when they spin a war, the mismatches are generally terrible. I've seen it. And so if they go into this rating system, basically everybody's playing on the same level. You have the same troops. You're attacking the same village. So it's kind of an equalizer and sort of might keep people involved more. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning on the side of it's going to hurt the gameplay of, max 14. Like I see Peter's point, but like most of us, if you're 14 and you've gone through the gamut of events that Clash of Clans currently has, i.e. CWL, clan games, etc., you're maxed on your loot. You can't go any further, and you can't spend it on anything on your base. So the incentive may not be as strong to do this event for resources. Like, take for example, I know they mentioned that you can spend your capital gold or your medals, rating medals, or whatever they're termed, on in the trader hut.
Mhm.
And currently, I can't get anything in the trader hut. I have my castle is full of resources right now, via books, ruins, potions. So there's really nothing that I can get. And I look at this as, I'm currently sitting on CWL medals because I can't use them on anything. And now I'm going to be sitting on another form of currency because I'm not going to be able to use it on anything. And maybe that'll change down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll realize, like, hey, we're not getting the participation of 14s like we thought we would because there's nothing for them to spend it on. And I'm hoping that's the case. But yeah, for right now, it's kind of just going to, like Carl alluded to, everybody's going to want to use the shiny new toys, see what it's about, and they'll participate. But I guess the bigger question is, how long will this keep Max 14s enthused?
Well, that's a good question, because is this new base sustainable? Like we saw with Builder Base, some people, like, they really hyped it up when it was first released, and some people really liked it. They got really competitive with it. I know in the CFF there was a clan that they basically stopped playing the main village and they focused on the Builder Base, and they were pushing and everything like that. And then everybody got Max, and it was just like, okay, now what? Because there was nothing to do. And are we going to see the same thing with this? At first, everybody will be super hyped about it and wanting to try it, and then just interest will drop off.
So here's the even bigger question: is going forward, are the dev team going to spend more time developing the clan capital, or are they going to spend time developing the main base?
It's a very good question.
I mean, it's super easy, like, it has to be the main base. Nothing else, like, unless they somehow find a diamond in a rough, spoiler alert, they're not. Your main base is so sacred. Look at all the years that you spent grinding on it. You're never, even if the new game mode is more fun than regular Clash, mentally, you're never going to turn that corner because you have so much invested into the to the main village. Like, I know that there's, like, these theories about, like, not mentally blocking yourself of, like, hey, I spent so much time on this, I need to commit to this. It's like that old car you can't get rid of, right? You're working on it, you don't want to get rid of it. You're like, I should sell it. Logically, you should probably get rid of that thing, but you just can't because you're so invested. That's the main village. So, like, they have to put their effort there, because if they don't, like, all these empty, quote unquote, empty promises right now of people saying they're going to quit is actually going to happen. So, I mean, you can disagree with me, but I feel like the main village is where you spend all the time. That's where your mental energy is. That's what you're going to be thinking about. And if it doesn't have a good enough tie-in, you're not going to care.
No, I agree, and I'll even take it a step further. I'm worried less about the mental aspect and more of the wallet aspect that I've put into this game.
Oh yeah, that's true, right?
So, I mean, let's think about the future then on the main village, because everybody's expecting Town Hall 15 later this year, hopefully by fall. Do you think we're going to see some stuff from this rating side, Builder Base 2.0, making its way into Town Hall 15?
I don't know. What do you think, Peter?
No, I don't think it's going to cross over yet. I think Town Hall 15 now they're just going to start working on, right? They're going to have to let us play with Capital Peak for a while. Do you guys remember one of the content creators said this is not, you're just not going to max it out in the first weekend. This is going to be a couple of years, right, to build up to max out the Capital Peak. So I think they have some wiggle room again. They've really just given us a new game to play while we're waiting for Town Hall 15. That's what it kind of feels like,
Yeah.
And I know they said they've been working on it for a long time.
Yeah, I was just going to say they put a lot of time into it to just give us like a side game to keep us occupied while they work on 15. I fear that they're going to put more effort and resources into kind of like what Carl alluded to, the shiny new car in your driveway. And, hey, look at this, keep looking at this. We're going to tow away your old car that even though you loved it, we're going to tow that away. But keep looking at this shiny new car, and I feel like there is some truth to what you're saying, that it is a distraction. It just begs the question, a distraction for what?
I mean, they did have a lot that they had to manage this past winter in terms of, splitting the Chinese players off into their own separate server. So, that must have been a huge undertaking. And I think developing this was, okay, we haven't had any time to work on Town Hall 15 yet. What can we put together to give them something, because they're demanding something? And so, they've probably seen lots of ideas of, people, well, over the years. I think somebody had mentioned back, Tate, I think it was, had suggested a way to have a group of people attack a central village type of thing. So taking that idea and building on it. And I mean, they've already built builder base once, right? So they've probably taken that framework and built upon that.
So question for you, Kat, since you've mentioned builder base a couple times, do you think that this addition subtracts the builder base essentially? Like, so do you think they'll kind of the premise I was going on earlier, where it's like, look at the shiny new car while we remove the builder base?
Peter and I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier this week. I'm not sure if they can completely remove builder base, because they'd have to migrate the gem mine onto the main base. And then how do people get that 6th builder then? Those are the only two things that would inhibit getting rid of builder base completely. I think that's the only
Carl?
two things that people care about on that base.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
Yeah, they because there's a potential for people to have spent money on builder base and all that stuff like that. It's just gonna sit there. I can't imagine them getting rid of builder base, because then how are you gonna refund people properly? Because it would be like, hey, you offered me all these deals. I bought all the deals in the builder base, and you just like remove the builder base. Like, that was my thing that I spent money on. Like, I want refund for everything. Like, I just think it would be like a liability issue for them that they could never get rid of it.
Excellent point. Yeah.
$1,000 and I'll accept it going away.
One free max Town Hall 14, you get rid of builder base.
Okay, yeah, one or the other.
So the only thing they really gave us for the main village was they nerfed Super Drags, which I know Carl will be devastated about, and the Unicorn. And they buffed some air defenses. So are we going to see a shift to more ground attacks, do you think? Or is it still Clash of Drags?
I'll let Carl take this one, because he's kind of passionate about this balancing update.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is what they should have done 3 months ago. This is a huge deal. Like, the Super Drag triple rate I think is going to drop 5 to 10%. I think it's going to be exactly where we need it. I feel like a lot of the pro clans that are putting people on blast on Twitter, I think is going to slowly go away. I think this is where the troop needs to be. Like, I feel like a lot of people have said, you bring out the new shiny toy, you overtune it, so people spend money. It exactly happened. They were just too late to detune it to the right level. So I think this is amazing. This little, it's not a huge hit to Lalo, which is the other complaint for pro players and people wanting, not wanting to see, 14 stars against 15 or 13, 14. So it's a sneaky Lalo, but it's not like, it's still probably going to be the best attack for pro players. So it's like a sneaky little debuff in a tiny way to Lalo. And then because Clash of Drags is now going to be in the triple rate where I want it to be, that I think that ground is going to feel a lot better. And I know, so C-Note is a huge ground guy. He's probably one of the most well-known podcasters for being pro ground. I feel like if they would have given C-Note just a tiny smidgen into ground on this one, like even a witch level that only spawned like one more witch and not even like any hit point, whatever, I feel like that would have made him happy. I feel like they just missed the mark a smidgen, where they could have given those other players just a tiny bit more, and then I feel like it would have been a great triple rate for air and ground for the casual player. And when I say casual player, I mean the player that watches Itsu a couple times a week, maybe catches like a Twitch stream once a month on when it pops up the little live thing in your game. And I feel like it's going to be very rewarding to triple. Like you're not going to feel like it was a give me, which is great, for rewarding people in the game, as well as you're not going to go, buy a base from, whatever base builder, and then the first FC you get wrecked by Ace Super Drags. You know what I mean? So I feel like this is amazing, and the unicorn debuff is huge. I think people are going to be grossly underestimating the queen, because one of the main reasons super drags are good is that it protects your heroes to the end of the raid, and now you have 3 minutes, because basically those raids last forever. They're either fast and they triple, or if they last forever because your heroes are the ones that have to clean up the rest as all your drags fizzle out. So let's say it's drags fizzled out, you got 3 minutes of the heroes walking around. That's 3 minutes at that lower health boost, which is a huge deal for the queen. So I feel like people are going to notice that quicker than they are expecting.
Good points. So, what are you're using ground again? Because I know you were using super drags for a while.
Yeah, I'm back to ground. I've adopted the my new saying of ground or die. Like I just have lost complete interest in air. So I will be on the make ground relevant bandwagon.
What are you using for ground?
I brought back an old attack. I think we talked about this on voice chat a few nights ago. I call it the smash and grab. It's basically 2 golems, 10 witches, and the rest bowlers, and with a log launcher, and you earthquake your way in, preferably getting a bit of the town hall with the earthquake damage, and relying on the log launcher to either get the rest down and or get it to a point where passing troops can kind of just use a hit or two and get it down. And it seems to be it's working better than it did before. And I just think that's an attribute to the base builders who have overcompensated for air attacks being as at its clash of drag.
And there's tons of single infernos out there now.
Correct. So I've had some moderate success with it, and maybe in the future fine tune it a little more. I know like super bowlers are the new hot thing. I for whatever reason can't get them to work on a consistent basis, and I know Peter is kind of a go with the flow kind of guy, but given the current state of the game, do you see yourself attempting ground again?
The Clone War is coming up. We didn't get to talk about CFF news, but Clone War is coming up. So I've been working on a ground attack just for you. So yes, I think ground will be relevant again. I had bad news though. Red Thorn, the war just before SCWL, we got absolutely wrecked by a clan of drag batters. 14 dragons. There was no funnel. A dragon on the corner. Drop it with your knuckle and then deploy the bats. One guy, I don't think he needed to deploy the bats. I forget whose base that was, but it was like 90% done before he put the bats down. It was ridiculous.
It was probably my base. It was just, that was just unreal. They were very good at it, but
they were. And I gave it a try right away because I've always liked bats. Mm-hmm. I had some triples, but I also had some 1 stars on those silly ring bases. So it's not infallible. It's just I don't know. It's still so strong. They have to do more, like you say. Give us a skeleton or some hit points for the Yetis.
Or miners, another level on miners.
Well, Kat, you've been living that Super Bowler life as of late. How are you doing with that?
It's hit and miss. I'm finding that I'm running into bases where people are starting to protect against it. So, nothing's quite as easy to take out with a flame flinger. They've adjusted their bases so something's going to get your flinger if you're not funneling properly. Which funnel? What's that?
Hey now.
So
wow. Okay.
Which is actually great, right? Because that means if they're adapting to that, something that we've all liked before will work again, right?
Exactly.
Either hybrid or the Yeti bombing or.
Yeah, I'm really wanting to go back to doing hybrid. That's my all-time most favorite attack. And I've left it for a long time because I was doing super drags for a while and now, super bowlers. So I think I really want to get back to working on my queen charges and using the hybrid attack again. So I might just dive in and start working on that again, try and get my timing down on my spells.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you have to do other than wait for the weekends?
Wait for the weekends to do our
Tell
clan
people
raid.
what to upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll end this show with some shout outs and C-Note.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, I'd like to shout you guys out for having Carl and I here today.
Woo.
And shout out Fado. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it due to in real life stuff. So, just wanted to say, miss you, buddy. And I think that's all I have right now. I got to save some shade or some shade. Yeah, of course. Save the shade, but
accidental slip there,
save a shout out or two for the second half.
Carl, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, so CWL right around the corner. E4, even though he's our CWL planner, even though he's been like super busy, he's still got an OP roster, which we were super hyped this go around because we picked up a couple of amazing attackers. So we're gonna try to make a run this week. And then shout out to DJ Green. DJ Green's been popping some tunes lately when because apparently I'm too bossy in the Red Thorns server about music, so I got DJ Green on backup. So my apologies.
Peter, how about you?
I'm gonna shout out Fado and Raz together. After last pod, Fado jumped over with his Town Hall 9, and we spun him into the war, and our undefeated streak came to an end. Now, it wasn't all Fado's fault. He says, I haven't played Town Hall 9 in 2 or 3 years, and you can't put me into war like that. But so our little clan now has 2 losses because, well, Raz said I was supposed to clean up a base, and I was at work and forgot. So shout out to those guys. Sorry, I let you down.
All right, I'm going to shout out Carl and C-Note for coming on the show today. I appreciate you guys doing it and looking forward to part 2. And I'm also going to shout out all the friends I have over at Kent Greenhouse. I recently stepped down there and left that clan, so I want to wish them all the best and shout them all out. So that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for listening. The CFF is a family of clans and games such as Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and many of the other Supercell games. We love to provide content via podcasts and other media. You can visit the Clash Files Discord to apply to any of our clans or to support our pods and events. As always, please send us your comments, ideas, and questions on Twitter at KGH Podcast or join the Clash Files Discord at discord.gg/clashfiles.